Shanti, everyone. Welcome to those of you who are here with me live, and also warm greetings to those of you tuning in later through the YouTube video. If it's your first time joining, my name is Shailen, and I'm a student of the Brahma Kumari Centre in London, in the UK. And my mother and I have been coming to the Raj Yoga classes since the 1980s. And these sessions are a chit chat among students of the Brahma Kumari and an opportunity to share experiences and gain further clarification on points from the Morali. So those of you that are here live, I wonder if any of you would like to start off with sharing anything or asking anything.
そっか。ああ。Om Shanti. My name is Shinobu, and from Kawasaki, Japan. Om Shanti. I have been watching your YouTube, and also I attend Prashanti Bhai's class 2 times a week, and I started to learn Raj Yoga 1981, and but story is really this and that. It's been like that, but in recently I found Mannama Bhav, the meaning of Mannama Bhav really created the new feelings. I have been introducing this knowledge to a lawyer who is also a Buddhist monk for last 10 years. And it's not really, it's very, very slow. It's very, very slow. And I have to speak in Japanese only. So sometimes I get really frustrated because of my lack of vocabulary in Japanese, and also that he's a lawyer, so I'm not so logical and rational as he is, and so different way of creating thoughts is very difficult for me. But then it's improving. But Mannama Bhav, then I thought Mannama Bhav is to discipline the mind. And to discipline the mind really means only to think about Baba, to make my mind Baba's only. And I really, it really went very deep in my heart this time of the year. Thank you. Because nobody can discipline the mind actually. So that's the new point that I felt this time of the year. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you, first of all, Sister and Sister Shinobu. It's a real honor for us to have you here live with us. Really great to know that even when you're not here live, you are still with us later on through the YouTube video and also through other sharing. So it really feels a great honor to me, and I feel very happy. I think these classes go through all the time zones. Someone somewhere from Hawaii, I think, right to Japan and New Zealand, someone is listening. And so it feels very good about that. I think your journey, first of all, everyone's journey is different, but all of the rivers, we are all flowing to the ocean. So sometimes our journey for getting to Baba is winding because the river is winding. And so we all are traveling differently, but our destination is one. Your experience there with explaining knowledge is very good. In fact, this week, Baba spoke 2 or 3 Murlis, and particularly yesterday's Murli, Baba was emphasizing the importance of teaching for the purpose of learning. And so I think it's very, very good that Baba and Rana are giving you this opportunity to share Baba's knowledge. And you are in particular country, particular culture. And so the challenge is, how do you explain Baba's concept inside of your culture, inside of your language? And this is very good exercise for the mind, very good exercise for the intellect. So this is very, very good. And
So
mm, please go ahead.
indeed,
Yeah.
my understanding is getting deeper and clearer.
Mm, yes. So I would encourage you to continue to do this. And I always feel that explaining knowledge is more for myself than for other people because they might not understand, they might not remember, but we are actually the ones who remember the points more that we should. And this is why Baba says to all of us, explain the knowledge to us, because you will remember the points more. For example, the daily classes that I get a chance to record, I think it has improved my understanding of the morally. It makes me organize the morally into 2 or 3 themes, makes my mind focus, and so on. So the benefit is more for me always. And then Manmana Bhavi, you're right, is a very interesting concept. The word is a Sanskrit word. So even most Indian speakers will not know of this word. They will only know of it if they know the Sanskrit and they would have heard the Gita spoken with that type of word. Even if they heard the Gita in their language, the normal modern languages of India, they may not know this word. So like you say, I think it's correct that Manmanabhav ultimately is about disciplining the mind and controlling the mind. And what I can suggest is you can make a connection with Shinto tradition here because many like I am not expert in Japan culture or in Shinto. I'm not expert, but little bit I know. First of all, Japan is a very important country, a very old ancient country, and I think it has many similarities with India. First of all, um, the traditions have a lot with multiple gods, and Baba was talking today about Shiv Baba as like the supreme soul. Then you have like angels, then you have like deities, then you have like ancestors, then you have like gods of nature. So this is very deeply within Japanese culture also. And so I think that that is something that you can use. You can explain to Japanese people that many Shinto traditions also does not involve worshipping of idols, but many Shinto religious practices is about remembering. So Shinto tradition will have maybe ritual for harvest time, maybe ritual for ancestors, and it is focused on remembrance. And what
uh,
yeah,
invoking, invoking,
invoking.
invoking. Hi.
Mm,
And
yeah,
praise also, the praise for God of
yeah,
of of his work, unique work and purification.
yeah. So this week we had a Morley where Baba was, I think Monday's Morley, where Baba was guiding brothers and sisters in Amritsar how to serve people of the Sikh tradition. And the Sikh tradition also, they focus on this praise, they focus on this remembrance. They don't really worship idols. It's much more about focusing upon chanting, focusing upon remembering. But what Baba adds is the clear introduction of Shiv Baba. This is the addition. So I think you can connect people by reminding them that this is the tradition of remembrance, of praise. And here we're adding in Shiv Baba, understanding who is he. And we are focusing on that one. Second part of remembrance is linked with honor. So Manmana Bhav also means remembering who I am. So one remembrance is remembering Baba, and second Manmana Bhav, remembering who I am. And in Japanese culture, this type of remembrance is very deep. It's connected with honor. So what Japanese culture will be that I belong to this clan, I belong to this family, I belong to this type of honor of my family. And Baba tells us that in the Silver Age, we move into the warrior religion and warrior clan. And I can see many Silver Age, like warrior sanskar in Japanese culture. And um, I think that Baba is reminding us when he says remembering that children remember who you were. You were part of the deity religion. You were part of the warrior religion. So I think this is also very deep in Japanese culture, linked with identity and linked with self-respect. So you can use that. And then the third thing, I think there's a similarity between Japan and India in the preservation of culture, because Japan as an island or like a group of islands has maybe for 300 years became very isolated. And there are disadvantages of this, but there are also advantages of this. And for this isolation period, Japan kept its culture from the Europeans. Like Europeans are colonizing everywhere, and so many countries, their culture has become dominated by European religion or by European cultures. But Baba talks in the Morally about in India, they had a religious father called Adi Shankaracharya, and he established the sannyasi religion. And Baba gives a lot of credit to these gurus because mostly India had been overtaken by Buddhism, by Islam, and then this religious father, he is just coming around the time of Islam. Yes, not Islam, just Buddhism by that time. And Islam was just beginning. And of course, later on, we know that Christianity comes to India. But if you look, Japan and India are both really strong in their culture. Like even now, like people like me, I am born in the UK, but we all speak our native languages. We all know, like, even if they're not BKs, they know their culture very strongly. They worship according to the Indian traditions. They speak Indian languages. They have the Indian culture. So I can see this speciality also in Japan. There's this connection there with India. And then fourthly, the very first, I think probably you already know this, but the very first trip for Brahma Kumari service outside of India was in Japan in 1954. So at Dada and Mama, they sent Daddy Prakashmani and Daddy Ratan Mohini and Dada Anand Kishore to Japan. And so Dada's very first thought, and this week I was mentioning to brothers and sisters that the very first conference that BKs attended was in Amritsar in Punjab in 1952. And that was the religious conference that Daddy Janki attended. But the very first conference invitation outside of India was from Japan. And the daddies went in 1954 and they stayed there for some time and then went to Hong Kong, Singapore, like, so Japan is actually the foundation of Baba's service outside of India. So India is the seed, obviously, for everyone, but then outside of India, Japan is the seed of all of the service of Baba in every other country. So there is definitely some speciality of Japan that it has this role in the drama. So do you want to say anything?
Uh, once I went to United Nations organization with Dr. Nirmala, and Didi was asked, maybe it's not very easy for you to spread yoga in Japan. But Didi said, um, this country is very much value the virtues. So that's what she said. And indeed, um, we can't say Shiv Baba here, but his virtues, like you saying, Shinto religion, his virtues are kept or praised or respected and
Yeah,
amongst the people.
yeah, I agree. And you can mention these things. And Dada Ramesh also came to Japan, I think in the 1980s, and he was
Ramesh,
sharing, yeah, Dada Ramesh, and he was sharing that he met one group and they are worshipping just like Shivalingam, like just very, very similar to the Shivalingam image.
uh,
And they also have this meditative type of thing. So they many similarities. Now, my advice, though, for the current generation is that you can do a lot of good service in Japan based on mental health. Because my big worry for Japanese people is mental,
so,
because I teach many students from Asia. I work as a professor here in UK, and we have many students from Asia, like China, Hong Kong, South Korea, Indonesia, many Asian cultures. And Asian culture is pressure culture. So
mm,
all studying from a very young age, studying, so working, competition, then later competition. So it's
mm,
constantly pressuring situation. And I've been hearing from colleagues like students as well. They are working all day in school, then after school, more tutoring and more classes until very late time at night. So, and then Japanese companies as well, they're very successful, but
mm,
very long hours for employees and very, very difficult like work
mm,
culture. So I think the biggest service Brahma Kumaris can do in Japan is to help people with their mental health
mm,
because the work-life balance, I think, in Japan is very bad. And
mm,
we must encourage everyone to have balance between mind, body, and work. This is very
mm,
important, very
mm,
vital. And because we must look after our body, and Japanese
mm,
people, they're not really doing this. They're working too much, and then many
mm,
they get into like substance, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, too much because so much pressure, and they're just trying to relieve this pressure. So I think that this is top priority for Japanese people. They
mm,
must develop better balance and
mm,
they must look after their mind and their body. Right?
mm. The Tokyo Center is their service is more focused on cafe style. Get together and relax the mind first, and also like a music, uh,
Mm.
connected with the musicians and relax with the music. So that has been successful. Mm.
It makes sense
Many,
to me.
yeah, many young ones come and experience opening the heart.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I think so. So I think you're definitely all of you are the right people. Very fascinating culture, very fascinating country. So many qualities. But the thing about virtues is those same virtues become our defect. So in Japan, very hardworking culture, very disciplined culture, very honor culture. But these same virtues, they have become the defect because there's too much pressure because of this. So we have to balance. Baba always tells us everything balanced, loving, detached, yoga,
mm,
service, like everything he
yeah,
says must be both. If you just have one, you are out of balance. You must have
mm,
both all the time.
mm.
So thank you so much for joining. Really interesting to hear about that.
Thank, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank,
Thank you. Would anyone else like to share anything or ask anything?
Hello, Om Shanti, brother.
Om Shanti. Rodi, hi. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, thank you, and it's very pleasure to be with you here. Um, it's very interesting, and I think this is the second time we are joining, as far as I remember. Actually, I'm joining from Turkey.
Uh,
Um, yes,
Well, I mean, I
and
can, the comments that I made about Japan, I can make so many comments about Turkey. You know, Baba has put his children in such important countries, right? I mean, Turkey is like the center of the world for most of the copper and iron age, right?
correct. There's a lot of history and Asian culture combining with many things. It's just lots of civilizations, Roman Empire, yes, many things. And we have kind of Asian background too, the country has. My personality, I'm just, my parents coming from European descendants because I'm a minority in Turkey as I'm not Muslim, I'm Jewish. So well, yeah, but that doesn't matter. But you see, I mean, you just integrate the culture as all these people are integrating. what I wanted to say about the Japanese culture is just it's very unique culture as far as I feel. I haven't been to Japan, but I'm really have the respect of the Asian culture, especially. But of course, um, it's a differentiate between that. They are very obeying culture. They like to obey. You know, they have certain things and they respect and everything. So um, and they are determined. They are very determined people. They're very correct and they're very determined and hardworking people. I think it's coming from their empire. I think, as far as I concerned, because the Japanese empire is just so strong and they have so much values and they're really dedicated for that values, as far as I know. There were warriors as well, but despite the fact that warriors, they have so much um, knowledge and so much um, sweetness. Of course, they have so much rituals like tea rituals, and they have different customs. I don't know if they still exist in Japan. That, but it's an amazing culture. So thank you.
Yeah, tea ceremony or flower arrangement, like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
and the kimono, I think, are still like, I think yeah.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you. We can learn from every culture and they all have their specialisms. And Japan has its specialities for sure. And those virtues, like you mentioned, they've also been the foundation for the rebuilding of Japan after World War II. I mean, I can remember as a child, nearly everything electronic was made in Japan for like 30 years. So, and cars and everything. My mechanic always told me, buy Japanese. They don't go wrong. So there's many qualities, like you're saying, because it's like systematic thinking as well, like very process thinking. But like I'm saying, those same virtues also then become our weakness. So the problem in Japan is then the people, they're like part of the machine. But actually, people are people. And so people have to be treated individually, but the system will be like they're just treated as part of a company, like a machine, and they are one piece of the machine. And this is what we need to encourage them to have more of a balance with. But yours is also a very fascinating culture with your Jewish heritage and things. I think, again, so many things that we can learn from that, a very ancient culture that you have. And the people's going right back, like you're saying, really, it's always been a mixture. I mean, we separate these things, but they're not really that separate. And Baba always traces back the development of the Western religion to the Prophet Abraham. And um, what I find interesting is that it says to us in the Morally that he establishes three religions, the Brahmin, the deity, and the warrior religion through Brahma. And then we see later in the cycle, three religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, connected with Abraham. And this, you've got this word Rehem in both, like Brahma, Ram, and Rehem, Abraham or Avram or Ibrahim. You've got this similar type of syllable inside both of the names, and it comes from this word Rehem, which means mercy or compassion. And so you seem to have these two characters in the drama that are like great grandfathers. And so Abraham is very much this great grandfather for these three religions. And then we've got Brahma, the great grandfather of these Asian religions as well. So you've got the West, they're not really Western, they're like Middle Eastern religions, really, but we call them Western religions. And then you've got the Eastern religions developing out of India through Brahma. And so I think that's also very interesting.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And I think you might have heard me say this before in the classes, but what I find very interesting is Baba uses the Jewish letter Aleph when he says, like in the English transcript, they use the Greek, but when you hear the Hindi, Baba doesn't use the Hindi letter, or even like the Persian or the Arabic. He doesn't use when he says alpha and beta. So he says Allah, Baba is alpha. And remember alpha, remember Aleph, and then beta, he says, remember the kingdom of the golden age, the inheritance. And he uses ben. So he uses the two Hebrew letters, Aleph and Be, in the Hindi word.
That's so amazing because so much combinations and mixtures, and that makes so much beauty and so much,
Yeah.
it's like, it's like a flowerish kind of, it's a beautiful sense. It's so nice, so colorful. Yeah.
Yes, and it's
And there is another, probably, I'm just, I became BK in 3 years, and I still discovering so many things connected to the essence of the Judaism, not the like a Kabbalah. Maybe you know about that. So this is like it's like it's not the religion, but it's more spiritual side of the Judaism, and there is so much connection with that, with the kalpa tree, because the tree is so important in the Judaism as well. Like, is the star. It can, every star inside that it represents kind of like a chakra, by the way. So it's a deep, deep, deep knowledge, and it's so much combination with that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. It is very fascinating. And also, you should remember that the Jewish people are the first ones to go back to reminding everyone that God is one. So what Baba explains to us is that in India, we started, it was the Brahmin souls at the beginning of the Copper Age that began the worship of one incorporeal Shiva. And he calls that unadulterated devotion. But he says that later on we began to worship Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar, then many other gods and many other deities. And so India had moved into multiple gods, the polytheistic type of religion, and we see that now. And right around the world, if you look, the old traditions, there are multiple gods. This was like normal everywhere. And it's actually the Prophet Abraham and the Jewish people who are the first in the drama to take everyone back to away from idol worshipping to remembering one incorporeal. And it's just like because there isn't the clarity of Shabbat, or maybe it was there and it's been lost over time. But that's why it's not so clear who is God and remembrance of God. But there is an understanding there. So there's a very important role that the Jewish community have played. And then later on, it was the Christian and the Muslim tradition. They built upon the traditions of the Jewish community and then developed their religions from that. So we have to also understand that Baba explains everything is a sequence in this drama. And every part of the tree, it is the foundation for another part of the tree. You can't, when a tree grows, you cannot skip. You cannot just miss one bit and go to the next bit of the tree. This is not how a tree works. A tree grows systematically, sequentially. And so there's importance to the Jewish religion for the development of those other religions as well.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to share anything or ask anything?
Om Shanti. This
Om
is
Shanti.
Dana. I was thinking about what you said. We must find the balance of the effects. The balance of, what was it you said? The balance of
Every virtue, the opposite virtue.
Of virtue and opposite virtue, which made me think again of there is not, to find that balance, there is only one way, and that is through God, through finding focusing on the perfect form of each value and power, because those are in God, the seed. So I think we don't need to mention Shiva, but God, yes, has to be mentioned in service, because all souls are His creation, and we must find the balance of seeing souls and roles. You know, it's not roles, it's not religions, it's not cultures that will bring us back to the Father, to the seed, that you can say for some, the source. Yes. So it reminded me when the sister was talking about Japan. Immediately, you mentioned that also. I thought about Japan was the first country that was gone to for service, and then I saw I once heard this story. I don't know from whom, but about Mama, when Mama went to Japan, and they had a gathering for her, and everybody was in expectation, and Mama just stood there, and she just gave drishti. She just gave drishti, and then she said, "Don't you want to know God?" That's all she said, and people, it made such an impact that people for years were talking about this, you know, because every soul, whatever role, whatever religion, whatever culture, every soul has inside the soul is the remembrance of God, because we are creation of God. So that's
it's Prakash Manidari who came to Japan, and yeah, sorry.
It was not Mama?
It's Prakash Manidari. And
Yeah.
that morning, hi.
It was not Mama who said, "Don't you want to know God?"
Well, no, I think both are correct in that one sense. So, Dana Ben, thank you very much for sharing that. I thought that was very valuable. And like Shinobu Ben is saying, that actually to Japan was Daddy Prakashmani and Daddy Ratanmohini and Brother Anand Kishore. But my understanding is that Mama wrote to all of the participants of that conference and invited them to India. So some of them, they returned back to India in the subsequent year. And Mama met them then. So I think, Dana, then that is what you are referring to. So some people from Japan had then come to Motherbank and in the return. So I've seen those letters, in fact. I have read those letters that Mama sent to the organizers of the conference. And I can, if I find them, I can share them with you. Mama and Baba wrote they were very direct. And so
Yes,
they
yeah.
were very, very direct. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we would write like that now. But I suppose because they had such yoga power, it cut through everything, like you're saying. So yes, I think that's what that was. Yeah, just to add into your point about the virtues in God, think that's right. And I think the additional thing is the power of knowledge. So what creates balance is actually the moralist. And what Baba is saying to us is, firstly, you are going to have all of the virtues. If you don't have all of the virtues, you can never have balance, right? Because something is missing. Secondly, you need all of the 8 powers, because the confluence age is very challenging, because you are in the iron age and you're making your spiritual effort for the golden age. And everything is very challenging for you. If you just have virtues without the 8 powers, you won't have balance either. We also need to be able to tolerate and accommodate and adjust and discern and decide. So those 8 powers, they come through yoga, like you're saying. It's about remembering Shambhala. But what the knowledge teaches us is how, even if we have all of the virtues, how do we continue to use them? Because it can be very awkward with different people. Let's take an example that we can be peaceful, just focusing on ourselves. We can be introspective. And then someone we are living with, someone we are working with, they have disturbances in their own mind. They begin saying something. And at that point, they are like dragging us. They're like pulling us into their drama, into their confusion at that point. And our attitude can be, well, I don't need to be involved. So we want to just stay detached from them. And that can make them even more angry. And it can make them even more. And it can be very difficult, actually, to get balance correct. So I think for most of us Brahmins, balance is not something that is like a template that we can use in every situation. In one situation, you can use these virtues and it works very well. And with these people, it works very well. And then you are using the same virtues with someone else and in another situation, and it provokes more confusion. So this concept of balance is also like having a repertoire. We have to have like a repertoire of many, like a musician. I can see Sister Angie's got guitars there. So you have to have many instruments. Um, and if you can play many different things and you know many different songs, you can satisfy many different situations. So virtues are like this, that you cannot just be good with some virtues, because the drama will test you to change and use other virtues. The balance is tricky, I think.
The balance comes through power, God's power. That's why Baba does the drill, means the drill back to the basis. Touch base is, not so long ago, Baba said about the final form. And then what you do, and then now he said, now remember your eternal form. And that means the soul in soul world. So that's where you get the power. I just wanted to say that we should not forget to touch base before any balance can be done, you know. The more like a focus. That's why Baba is now focusing also on Mansa Seva, on doing that touching base. And then souls will feel that, you know, and they will remember who they are. If any knowledge comes to them, they will, in the role, they will understand. And then you can continue the journey.
Nicely put. Thanks for that reminder. Would anyone else like to say anything or share anything?
Shailen Bhai, Om Shanti, Sujata.
Hello, Sujata
Happy
there.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
I've sent a message to you, but can you expand on the blessing, please, today? How do we hand over our old nature sanskars successfully? Because that's the one day in, day out we are battling. And what's the method? How do we hand it over to Baba? Baba said, give all your burden to me, I'm here. So if you can expand and help us, that'd be great. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Well, my experience is that we're not even very conscious of our old nature for some time. It takes over the years, we continue to become more conscious of what even is our old nature. Because I've used these words previously. One is natural and the other is normal. And what Baba calls our natural nature is the golden age nature. And he says this is natural for you. But we have been using the vices and the weaknesses for so many centuries that actually the old nature has become normal. And when something becomes normal, you're no longer even conscious that this is something. So I think the first step is understanding what the alternative is. Most people, they're not thinking that they can be any different or they should be any different because this is just who they are. And so if we say to many people, you should change your nature, they will just tell us to go away. Who are you to tell me what to change? This is me. If you don't like me, you go away. And this will be the attitude of most people because that is normal. It's become, they're not conscious that there's any alternative way of being. And what Baba makes us conscious of is that for half a cycle, we had completely different nature, completely different samskara. We never thought we could have a nature based on purity, based on divinity, based on royalty. So I think first of all, it's even just having this alternative is the first step. But do we really believe that we were different and we did have a different way of being and doing? Then once we have that faith and belief that yes, I was something different, I was a golden age soul, I did have this nature of purity, of vicelessness, complete of all virtues, of divinity, then I can begin to identify with that. And this is why Baba gives us these practices and these drills. But then we have to think to ourselves, well, there's then a period of coexistence. So we have the old nature and we have these new samskaras that Baba is teaching. And both are in existence. So for most of us Brahmins, we are in this Rajo stage. So Baba says to us that when you came to Baba, you were Tamoprada. And then we have this Tamo stage as we're just understanding Baba. And then once we accept that we got to live this pure lifestyle, that we were these deities, then at that point we begin to think, oh yes, I am that. So we have these two parts to ourselves. We have this divine self, and we have faith that we are that. We know that Baba is looking at that. When we look into Baba's eyes, we also see ourselves in that divine form. And then we also have our human self, which is the old nature. And part of that old nature is linked with past lives. So it's very deeply ingrained. And that's what we call samskara. the sanskars can be very difficult to even know. They can be very subtle. And these sanskars, they drive our thinking and our feeling and our doing, like that. Very, very subtle. Then nature is based upon two things. The first is our childhood of this lifetime. Because childhood, it shapes so much of our life. Most of us, because I used to teach children also, so for many years I observed, so I had Baba's knowledge, so I'm like being introspective of myself, but also looking at my third eye of knowledge, I'm seeing many different children. And when we're children, we are like constant influence. It's just the age we are, the development of the brain. So parents are everything the parent is saying, doing, lifestyle, even very subtle messages like look in the eye, look of the face, vibration, everything impacts on the child. So, we have been programmed inside since childhood with the nature of our parents. And many of us, we're absorbing the good points and also the bad, the weaknesses and the bad points. This is why in the Lokik world, people say, don't they, that when we grow up, we turn into our parents. So when we are children, we say we will never be like our parents. And then when we become parent ourselves, we become exactly like our parents again. Because this nature has been programmed inside of us. And then secondly, the culture of our upbringing, like the country, the community, like we were talking earlier about Japanese culture. This is the same wherever you are brought up as well, because that influences our schooling, our friend culture, our society culture. It creates a nature. So we have the combination of our family upbringing and then our cultural upbringing. And then the third part of our nature is our body and our genetics. So the stars of the body are the genes. And again, I am not a geneticist, but I generally am I'm interested in knowledge. So I've read something of like many things. So I know a little bit about many things. And my understanding of genetics is that the genes are like very, very subtle, like bacteria inside of the body. And they're like the sanskars of the body. And you see, the body is temporary, but the genes are eternal. So the genes are looking to pass on. So in the whole of nature, the genes are driving the creatures, maybe animals, maybe birds, maybe fishes, maybe people, to have children. Like this is the aim. Because in the children, the genes are living, right? So it's the genes that are driving a lot of the behavior in nature. The people, the animals, the birds, the insect, they are only living short time. But the genes are continuing through the generation. And so these genes, they drive us. And these genes are made up of many centuries of sanskar. And they're in the body, and the body drives us. And mainly, it's in essence, the body is driven by survival. And so the body is looking to continue it, like it must eat, it must drink, it must have children, it must defend. So fear is linked with this as well. So it's all about these genes of the body. This is why when you have crisis situations, and Baba has been telling us a lot about this, that as time moves forward towards the end of the Iron Age, you will be in very difficult situations. And we can see this can happen anywhere, right? Anytime can happen. Natural disaster or war or something, anything can happen. So the what you have is this what you see in crisis situation is even if soul is very good, like very good person, very virtuous person, very spiritual person. But when there is no food, there is no water, there is like threat. Even very good people, the body will drive them, and they could even kill someone. They will be thinking, people will be thinking only for themselves and their children. I will kill this other person so I can feed my children. This, like century after century, same thing, because this is the samskara of the body, who's always wanting to survive. So animals are like this as well. This is why Baba says to us in the Iron Age, you are like the animal. There's no difference, really. The animals are doing this, human beings are doing this. And so Baba that your nature is made up of all these samskaras, and he says you are part of the Shudra clan in the Iron Age. And the Shudra is the legs and the feet to symbolize the feet, because the animals, they also walk on the feet level, on the ground. So this is what Baba means, that you start off like Brahmin is top notch, so your energy is very elevated, your samskaras are very elevated, deity is the face. But as the cycle is continuing, your energy is falling and you become like the feet. You are like animals. So as these crises, as climate change happens and all these crises happens, more and more people will become like animals. The situation will force them, and the nature of the body will take over.
It is not because of the body. It's because of thought, not the
No,
body.
no,
The
the
body
thought is influencing.
influencing
Yeah, the
the
body
thought.
influences the mind. Yeah, the
Yeah.
body influences the mind. So the thoughts are influenced because of the body. So these will be people when you're very, very hungry, when you're you've got very, very desperate situation, even if your thoughts were very, very pure, the body will take over the thought. And so
No,
many people, yes, definitely.
no.
Thousands and
The thought
thousands of
can. What are we studying Raja Yoga for? And the
to
yogis,
be able,
you mentioned the sannyasis.
yeah,
They didn't
exactly.
go kill because they were hungry,
Well, no,
because
exactly.
they
This
had
is
the
the
thought
point.
under control.
No, exactly. This is the point. This is why Baba is teaching us Raj Yoga. But he says to us, these tests are going to come. And until you test, you don't know whether you can resist it or whether you can do it. So the body will test. For example, in the Bhog messages after Brahma Baba, in the YouTube channel, we recorded all of the Bhog messages after Brahma Baba became an angel. And he describes, there's one Bhog message where Daddy goes on. She asked Brahma Baba, what was your experience of those final moments when you were leaving the body? And Brahma Baba, because his body is having like a heart attack, his heart failing. So he's describing that even after he's such a powerful yogi and he had so much yoga over so many years, but he describes how it was like a tug of war, that the body was pulling him and the karmic accounts were pulling him. And for 10 minutes, it was 50-50. He was very powerfully having yoga, and the karmic accounts were equally pulling. The body was pulling him just as much as the yoga. And then after about 10 minutes, the karmic accounts dropped away. They were all finished, and only yoga was left, and he flew. And so this is why Baba says over a long period of time, you are going to need this yoga power to override So our nature is influenced by these three different things. And what Baba is saying to us is, can you utilize the power of yoga and the power of knowledge to be able to, he used the term last Sunday in the Morally, that can you emerge these new samskaras, and can you merge all of the old samskaras? And Sujata, I wonder if you remember the phrasing that Baba used. He talked about the track, like your line of fortune. And then he said, one, Baba is looking at the line of fortune in your forehead of all of the Brahmins. But there's also the line of the awareness of past events and the line of your old samskara. And you know, I've been thinking about this week and how these lines, they like pull up because it's like a train line. And for many centuries, our mind and intellect just goes on the train line of the old samskara. It just goes on the train line of the old awareness. And what Baba was saying to us last Sunday is the more that you just merge that, then it just finishes. If you continue to use those lines, they continue to become reinforced. So if we want to merge them, so they're still there, the old nature is still there, but we're not using them. And what Baba was saying is over time, as you don't use, you consciously create a new norm. So you are saying my new normality is to think differently. You have to use the power of knowledge to change the patterns of thinking. We have to use the power of yoga to change our feelings. We have to use the virtues and the powers to change our behavior. So that is then rejecting these old lines. So they will continue to merge. And just like you can have old train lines that are no longer used anymore, so similarly, this is how I see it. You want to come back on that, Sujata? Sujata, you have to unmute yourself if you are saying something.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, it's not, we need to have the power of yoga to overcome these qualities. So the more and more remembrance we have and the soul consciousness, it's going to help us to become that, because I think the body consciousness create all this. So what you're saying is that more and more remembrance and soul consciousness create power within the soul, and soul can withstand this and bring the original qualities.
Yes, and the power of knowledge as well. So my experience is that we have to use the power of knowledge to change the way we think. And then it's the power of yoga that changes how we feel. And you see, a lot of our feelings are linked with the past, and they just emerge. Like as human beings, the human nature, it's not rational. So even if we have a lot of knowledge, human beings will act out of emotion and feeling. And so this is why the yoga has to heal deeply the soul over many births. And so many, many layers of feeling have been stored inside of the soul. And it's only Baba's love that can go deeply inside. And like I was saying about the body as well, you see many memories are also stored inside of the body. So the body also contains memory of experiences we've had in this life. And then you find people that like they talk about how their ancestors, they never even met their ancestors. but their ancestors had some injustice, and they had the anger of ancestors they never even met before. And it's like it's in the culture, it's in the sanskars, it's in the genes, and these things can all be. So that is saying you're going to have to end the lines linked with the past. So we do that by changing our thoughts through knowledge and then developing the power of yoga. But for like I think with Mama and Baba, they had that yoga power where they just ended those lines instantly, and then they didn't use their old nature again. But I think for most of us, it takes that time to develop the yoga power. So as Brahmins, we have these two sides to us. We have our very good divine sanskar, and then we've got also the old nature coexisting inside of our consciousness. So this is why each day we got to have Amrit Vela, morally develop our chart, we have service, and we've got to constantly work with ourselves and constantly create like the stream and the mariadas. We have to have boundaries for ourselves because I don't think we can trust ourselves 100%. Like, I think there's always 25% margin where we could use our old concept. So we have to have like extra boundaries for ourselves because the old nature can deceive us at any time.
Yeah, hello.
Hello?
The one, not to make it difficult, but to make it lighter. I mean, direction of our destination is to become light. So somebody was saying, which made me think easy, is to put on a new disc, not to think why the old disc is like this and that, but on a new disc means Baba's sanskara and Baba's virtues but all things are coming up, but our direction is going forward. That's the Swadarsan Chakradari.
Yes.
So like, so, and that happens, but I observe, I put my position as an observer that yes, old sanskaras is there, but I'm also developing the new sanskaras like that. And not to make it too troublesome for myself.
Yes, agreed.
Yes, I also agree with his sister. And what you, Shailin, said just now, the 25%, why 25? But that of the old sanskars that will cause defeat. That's not a good word.
Deceive.
Defeat. There is no defeat. Brahmins are victorious.
Yeah. Deceive.
Maybe
Deceive.
he
Oh, I thought you said defeat.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And
But,
remember, also very important to have that lightness and easiness is happiness. Baba is showing us in the Murlis lately a lot of. Are you looking at your inheritance? Do you have this intoxication? Keep up that intoxication and things will be easy.
good reminder. Totally agree.
and also forgiveness and patience. to myself first.
I think so. And I think it's like, you see, we can say that, oh, this is my old nature and old samskar, but my experience is we become conscious of that over many years. Like, we don't even realize that this is old nature for a long time. And then it's over the years of being with Baba that we become more and more conscious that, this is actually something I need to change. But sometimes we can just be using some styles and we're not even realizing that this is old nature. So I think the patience is there. And many of us, like, we heard Murlis many years ago, and now we're hearing them, and it makes sense completely differently to what
Yes.
we thought of before. So I think it does require, it's a pilgrimage, isn't it? It's a journey. Would anyone else like to say anything or share anything, ask anything? Cicely, Ben, thanks for sharing in the chat. Really great to have you here. And Cicely,
Thank
Ben,
you.
I'm
It's a little
hoping...
quiet here now. Go ahead, brother. It's a little quiet here, so I can open up my mic.
Oh, great. Well, let's hear from
Yeah.
you. Let's hear from you. You go.
Well, I liked what was said so far. I like the fact that the sanskars this is exactly what I agree with, is that we use the old sanskars and in an unconscious manner that we're not even realizing what we're doing. And I see it happen. It's like I've been in a situation and like, do you realize what you did? And they had no idea what they'd done. So we have to have all those things that you said. And I find that the souls that have come a little later, I mean, I'm not exactly been around for a very, very long time, but if you're not having that yoga, that meditation, you're not having, Baba's Murli and all that stuff, it's difficult. I've seen the challenges with that. And it's also difficult as it relates to coexisting in that environment as well. When you have, so I'm grateful that I've got all that. I've got very good foundation. I say it all the time, New York, all those things. Mohini Ben does a great job in keeping everything in check, and I'm grateful for that. And it gave me a solid foundation. And I'm where I'm seeing myself now. I believe I'm doing very, very good. Well, and my focus is whatever sanskars, such as sensitivity, because I realized when I was in Madhuban, how that sensitivity translates into how I'm feeling. If it's cold, yeah, it's cold, but I don't have to be cold. I can take care of the coldness. I don't have to be talking about the cold. So it really just translates into many, many different things. So I'm really working on that sensitivity, because things that used to bother me before don't bother me like it did before. And I'm watching myself. So that's what I want to say. And I can say greetings to everybody and Shanti and Salam. And as I mentioned in the chat, that seems to be the thing, that I am in more of a Muslim, either a Muslim country, dominated country, or I end up in a Muslim community. So it's interesting. And I like it. I like the discipline. We talked about discipline. I like the discipline of the prayer 5 times. And they have different ethics. They have different business and work ethics. So it's nice to see the difference between one religion and the other, and how one is more disciplined than the other. So Shanti.
Yes, we're very fortunate, aren't we, that we got the third eye of knowledge, and we got the opportunity to travel and meet and learn from many different cultures. I agree. It's very, very interesting. And I marvel at how Buddha's children are everywhere. Like, how the drama has put Buddha's children in so many different places. It's really quite remarkable. And like you say, I think that's right. I think that what the first message that everyone must receive is that try and get the foundation in place. I can remember when I was, it's actually exactly 30 years ago. So I was 15, 16 years old, and it was December 1993. And my mother had come to knowledge before, and I was coming as a child. But that was when I just decided I'm going to come to Murli every morning, and I'm going to wake up Amrit Vela every morning. And my experience is the things like this, they're not a process. We just got to, with determination, just do it. And initially, our body is not used to getting up early, and it's not used to this, so it's there's a big resistance. to it. But then the body adjusts, and then it becomes normal. And so my advice to everyone is get that foundation accurate, because it becomes the basis of everything else. And then other things, we just, over the time, Buddha's holding our hand, he's going nowhere. He's walking this with us. So every day he's giving us sustenance, and he will take us to our destination. So it's a process of discovery. We discover virtue, and we also discover weaknesses. And what Baba wants is that we deal with everything in self-respect. With self-respect.
Right, because brother, yeah, I'm sorry, but I can see that, especially for me traveling all over the world and going to different places. I mean, when I got to Luxor, it was just me. It was nobody else there. And so without that foundation, it's easy to just fall off, let me say, the wagon. Easy. But because of the foundation, I was able to share that foundation with those souls in Luxor as it relates to what I do. And they watched me. They watched how firm I was. They watched how I cooked my food, everything they watched about my behavior and how I was so connected to Baba. So that helped me and it helped them. So it's important, that foundation.
Yes. Certainly. So yeah, really good points. Thanks for sharing all of that. And I was just going to say that I think I'm visiting Ghana in March for my work. So let's touch base. The third
Yes,
week
I'll
of
be
March.
here actually. I will be here. So definitely, I'm here in Ghana at the moment. So definitely, we'll touch base. Yeah.
Yes, there's an institution called GIMPA, the Ghana
Okay.
Institute of Management and Public Administration. And
okay.
I am my university's rep for that partnership. So
okay.
I will
Lovely.
probably be coming across for a week.
Excellent. I look forward to meeting you for the first time. In the physical, yeah? In the physical.
Yeah,
All right,
splendid.
brother. Thank you. Yes,
Thank
Om Shanti. Mm-hmm.
Would anyone else like to come in and say anything?
Om Shanti, Brother Shailen. I
Thank
just
you,
have
Divine.
one burning question. I loved my parents so much. And they worshipped Shiv Baba in the form of the Murti. I know the drama is correct, but is there any possibility that I could meet them in the golden age?
Yes, I think so. I have a firm belief that many of our relatives are actually Brahmin souls. And of course, I think both of your parents have moved on now, haven't they? So they might even be BKs now in their next life. What I've observed over the years is that many relatives of Brahmins, it's like they're not ready to be BKs in this lifetime, that we know that. Maybe they've got more bhakti to do. Maybe they don't want to change their lifestyle or their diet. You find many like that. But I've also observed many Brahmins are very, very clever in connecting their relatives with Baba in one way or another. They connect them with the center, they connect them with sister, they connect them through Baba's food, through Toli. Sometimes they help them to be cooperative in services. And I've also seen how some Brahmins, they're very, you and I spoke about this a few weeks ago, didn't we, Judy, Ben, with regards to your late husband's soul as well. That I've seen many Brahmins who are very good at using the wealth of their relatives for Baba's service, like using some of their money. So the seed is connected and planted for them in Baba's path, and they would get the multi-million-fold return of that in the future. So I feel all of that karma would then pull the soul to Baba in their next life. So I very, very firmly believe that. Like in our Lokik family, only Renjinben and I are BKs in this lifetime, but Renjinben has been very clever in creating the fortune of all of the members of her family and connecting them in one way or another with Baba. So I feel very confident that most of them are probably, a lot of them left the body a long time ago, so they're probably sitting in a center now, taking knowledge, because the seed was planted in one way or another. You want to come back on that, Judith?
I'm so glad you're telling me that because I had such love for them and the seated devotion that they had on the, on the path of devotion. It's like Shiv Baba, I think I said that if you are worshiping the Murtis, you still are going to receive the reward. You're still going to
Well,
receive the reward.
well, the thing, I don't think it's that specific, Judy Ben. I think one thing we got to remember is one of the rules of the drama is that every soul has a particular amount of devotion to do. And until you finish your time of devotion, you cannot become a beast. This is why we should never worry about when we become a BK. It's different for everyone. So it's not a problem. What we know is we will all become angels and deities at the same time. Like we all go home, that's the same time. But we all become BKs at different times. And this is because we have to finish our time of devotion. So like you're mentioning with their parents, but it doesn't, like, even if they were worshipping other deities or they were in another religion, it's no different. They must finish their devotion, then they will become Buddhist. And this will happen right around the world. God has told us that his religion is going to expand, in particular in India. It's going to grow a lot and become very, very powerful. So many will finish their devotion and then take life.
Thank you so much, Brother Shiv.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to say anything?
Shanti, Divine Family,
Shanti Sawadan.
and Happy New Year. Happy
Happy
New
New Year.
moments for everyone. I have questioned my brother regarding what Sister Judy has said about this evolution of the Brahmin souls, because I know that it's a question also that I sometimes meet in the Murli. When Baba says, for example, this is your last year in last life in this cycle, we understand that really physically this is our last year life in the cycle. But when you talk about the next birth as a Brahmin and the next birth as a Brahmin, I can't understand it. Is life having many other sub branches, or is it a physical life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
my interpretation of the point that you are mentioning is that Baba tells us, consider this to be your last birth in the drama. So as an awareness, he wants us to finish all of our accounts. He wants us to accumulate for the next cycle. So he is saying to us that consider this to be your last birth. But we can see for many Brahmins, they are leaving their body and then they are taking another birth. It's only Brahma Baba who doesn't take another birth when he is in the Sattva region. So we can see on a physical level that it's quite normal for Brahmins to take more than one birth at the confluence stage. And in this case, if we were talking about relatives, so over the years, because initially when a Brahmin comes to Baba, of course their first desire is their relatives should also come to Baba. This is same for everyone's first thought, let my friends and my relatives come, partly for them and partly for us, because if they come, easier for us as well. And also if they come, better for them. But then over the years, we have to accept every soul has their own role in the drama. And I think my message is that we should not just fix the judgment of people that they didn't come now to Baba, so they will never come. But we do not know the process in the drama. So just because someone did not become BK in this lifetime does not mean they are not BK soul or they are not deity soul. Because maybe they have to become BK in next lifetime. This was just not the time. So this was my thing.
Yes, but brother, we know that this confluence age will last only for 100 years. How can we make many lives in 100 years?
Well, you and I spoke about this previously, didn't you? You were mentioning something in the Quran that when we say year, see, I'm very cautious. I mentioned this the other day, like when what is Shribaba's year? And I think a little bit differently to other Brahmins. Many Brahmins, they take very literally. 100 means 100.
Yes, you're making the link.
I personally am much more cautious. So Baba says, don't be date conscious. So I am not date conscious. I just am thinking, okay, this is this life. This life can end anytime. And so I must just be focusing on the time I got, like the breath. So for me, time is breath. So as long as I have this breathing, I got time. When the breathing's, I got no time. Simple as that. Nothing to do with distraction, because distraction is whatever. That's nothing under my control. And so I tend not to think in that way. And what I think about is, what is Baba saying about revelation? He's saying that we must reach a point where everyone accepts this is Shabbat. So when I look at the world, that is not there yet. So there's still for me more service to be done. And then secondly, all the Brahmins, like Baba said today, we have to become anasakt karmatit. We've got to reach this karmatit stage where nothing pulls us. And again, the Brahmins are not there yet. So if I look at those things, I can see that there would still be some time, because we will definitely get there. But the Brahmins have that time. What I'm concerned about is Brahmins becoming hopeless and a little bit discouraged because they think there's only 100 years. Baba started 1930, so we only got 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. We can never do it. And this is why I have big problems with the way in which this point is used. So I feel that if we say only 100 years, it suddenly limits everything. And many Brahmins begin thinking, I only just came to Baba, I can't do it. But the way I think about it is actually, Baba says, you children are the creator of time. You children are the master of time. So when I look at time in that vision, time is the creation of the children. So Baba, whenever children ask Baba, Baba, when is date of destruction? Baba always asks in the Murli, children, you give me the date. When will you be ready? So I very much want to give the message to all the brothers and sisters don't worry that have you got enough time. Forget time. You have Baba, and Baba is going to get you there. So let's not be time conscious and date conscious. Let's just enjoy this process of effort. And if I have this lifetime for many years or not many years, if I have another life as a Brahmin, whatever. But I, the soul, am now with Baba till the end. So this is my perspective. This is why I'm very, very cautious with this numbering date. Does this make sense to me?
Yes, brother. I I do really understand, and I definitely agree about this. The language that Shiv Baba uses is not is not the language we use, because he's not corporeal. So, and he is just trying to give us the knowledge he has. So we are approaching his mind and his mind, and we should be very we should be very soul conscious to only soul conscious to understand Baba. No dates, no date consciousness, no limited consciousness. This is the only way. And like Einstein has said, that if there is a problem, you can't solve the problem unless you quit the consciousness that has created the problem. And I think that
Right.
yeah, Baba
Yes.
is trying to shift us so that we can get out of the problem we have created with the consciousness, with
Yeah.
body consciousness, limited consciousness.
That's right. And our human mind can use numbers to limit ourselves, you see. Like, for example, Baba talks about how he used to use the 108 category, then 16,108, and then he changed this to first division and second division because he saw that Brahmins are thinking, oh, there's 108 daddies, I can't become. And we can use the number. Baba is saying the number to inspire us, but our human mind will use the number to limit us. And similarly with time. So, like if we say 100 years, the human mind will use that to tell ourselves we can't do it. But actually, Baba is saying you got all this time to be able to achieve this. This is such valuable time. I'm giving multi-million. So we are actually meant to use the time to enable us. But our human mind can limit us.
It's a
Go
paradox.
into the unlimited, from the limited to the unlimited, or from the
Yes.
corporeal to the incorporeal. Sorry.
Yes, I think so. I'm very dubious that Shiv Baba uses our calendar. I just think that he is in another eternity space.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah, in Quran it is said that it is a day, there will be a day that you call 50,000 years, but it is a day for God. في يوم
right,
كان مقداره 50,000 سنة مما تعدون. You count 50,000 years and it's a day for him.
for God,
So
right,
really, we can't know what's going on in Baba's mind. You know, it's something new, completely new.
yeah. And this is what I was meaning earlier about how our old nature can deceive us without us even realizing it. Well, this can be one of the ways. So we can hear them morally, and you can't say to a Brahmin that they are wrong, right? If the Brahmin says to you, But look, Baba said in the Murli that confluence age is 100 years. Okay, fine. That is in the Murli. But then, do you know what he means by year? So, it's like how many Murli do we hear? The golden age, silver age is day of Brahma. Copper age, iron age is night of Brahma. So in that context, the whole cycle is one day. Like, just one day and
Yeah.
one night.
That's
So
nice.
I heard how many Morley Baba says Jivan Mukti is 1 second, and what he means is whole confluence age, 1 second. This is what he means. So I am very, very cautious that in my own human mind, putting my projection onto God. And my checking point is the old sanskar and Maya does not want me to do this. So if I am using the morally to not do this, it is definitely mine. But if I am using the morally, well, if I use say I use the concept of time to make my effort stronger, that's it. So like Baba would use it that way. He would say, final birth, destruction is coming, you got no time. You got to be very quick and move everything because he is making us move forward. But my concern is that many Brahmins don't use it that way. They use the concept of time to demotivate them and to feel that they can never do it. I can see Ambika Ben on the screen. Did you want to come in?
Oh, Shanti, I only just saw the message. I had to leave. I left just after 6 to do something. And as I come back, I said, let me check again because I tried to get on to Sister Jayanti class and I realized something was wrong. And then I said, look, let me just go. I'm sorry that I missed the class earlier on, but I'll catch up with it. That's good. I know you always talk about, not to be time bound where efforts and destruction is concerned. And I think now more and more I'm realizing that it's important to focus on what Baba wants us to become, just to keep this aim and objective. And as Shalva Ben was saying also, she was speaking, I'm thinking really Baba just wants us, when he talks about time and confluence age and all that, is really for us to be aware of the time period that we're in and what is necessary for us to do and the urgency of it, and we're seeing it, urgency. I think for me now, time is for me looking at what is happening in the world, the urgency of things that are happening and becoming progressively worse before it becomes better, and how does that relate to my effort in what it is I am expected to do or what is needed of me with respect to what is happening in the world, And I was like Sister Jati was saying this morning, she was asking if anyone is fearless, if they're fearless. She was talking about the fearlessness just after the Murray, and she was saying that it is needed for the hour to build the self now because how things are happening quicker. So it's for me to be asking certain questions to myself now. Am I ready to face destruction? Am I ready to do Baba's task where souls were suffering in this world? Am I ready for that? Where's my level? So it's a self-questioning now for me, where am I at this point? So
Yes, I think those are good points. And you see, for me, there's 2 Hindi words linked with our efforts. One is sadhana, and this word sadhana, it means spiritual endeavor. And this sadhana, it's not meant to be quick. Like it's something you're doing as a process over a long period of time. And the other word is tapasya. And both of these words Tapasya means intensive meditation. Sadhana means long-term spiritual endeavor. And if you think about it, we're in a time of instant gratification, aren't we? So part of our old nature is shaped by the 20th century and the 21st century, where suddenly science has enabled us to get things quicker. What was taking like so long before, like imagine before the washing machine, how much of your time will be in washing clothes and things like that, right? And all of these labor-saving devices came. So we are able to get something very quickly for less effort. So we are also shaped by this mentality. How can we get more for less effort? But spiritual things are not meant to be that. They are meant to be that you do it gradually and incrementally over time, and you gain the benefit. Because this is what a pilgrimage is. You like slowly you walk. Before, when you went on pilgrimage, like if you are going to Jerusalem, Mecca, Rome, India, any place you are going, you would be walking. Like the walking was part of the pilgrimage. It will take like even like 2 years to like walk there, and they will walk because the understanding is the process. It's not just destination; it's the process is very important. And what has happened is we are shaped by this industrial revolution to think that we can get something without making effort. And this old nature can also influence us as Brahmin. So like I used to teach young people, and I teach like young people in their 20s now, not very young people, but in their 20s. And for a lot of young people, children growing up, they don't even want to have a job. They just want to become YouTube stars. And they can sit in their room and become millionaires and become famous just from doing nothing. And some of these people, like they're so famous and so rich, and I still don't know what they do. Like, what is their specialism? They haven't actually. They don't seem to do anything other than make silly videos for the YouTube, and this is it. So we are in this culture where people are looking to get something quickly for doing very little. But even like if you look at how they will engage with a lot of other things, they just want 5 minutes or 5 minute quick meditation comment. They would just want this. But this is not actually Raj Yoga, because Raj Yoga is not really meant to be like that. And for me, when Baba is saying value time, he's saying that this is an incremental process. You should be engaged in it. So you start now, and it may take many years, but it's that process of study, that process of meditation, that process of checking, that process of dealing karmic accounts. This is your pilgrim. This is very holy. This is very special. And he wants us to start now because then we can have long period of time. And we accumulate. The Buddha says it's like an income. And if you can earn income over a long period of time, then you got to have a big stock. And it's not just Baba's help, it's your own income as well that you have accumulated. So with sadhana, the idea is you attain a siddhi through the sadhana. And a siddhi is a spiritual power, a spiritual capability. So in Hinduism, there's so many stories of these great gurus who do this, or monks and nuns, they do this type of sadhana, and then they're able to have some sort of power through that. Like they can tell the future, they can live without eating food, they can resist fire, they can produce fire, like there can be magical attributes. And you find this in different cultures, like same sort of thing. So that is saying, well, all of that is bhakti, and bhakti can give you some limited cows, and then they become famous because of their magical capability. But for you, you want to become master of the world. So you have to develop the siddhi that's needed for the golden. And this is what you have to accumulate, but you can only do this through sadhana. And this is why time is important, because you must do this over a period of time. Secondly, I'm not sure for how long Baba will give us multi-million. If you listen in some mornings, Baba says, I give you 100-fold. Then if you listen in some other mornings, Baba will say, I give you 1,000-fold. Then if you listen in some mornings, Baba will say, I give you 100,000. And the mornings we are hearing in the Sunday now, these are the mornings where Baba said, I give you multi-million. But if you listen in some mornings, Baba didn't say, I gave you multi-million. So maybe in the 50s, 60s, he didn't give multi-million. Maybe he only gave them 1,000-fold. And so they had to make more effort. But because Brahmins are coming now, they didn't meet Brahma Baba, they didn't meet Mama, many didn't meet even the Daddy. The Baba is thinking, how can I help them more? Let me give them many more. And in recent Murlis, Baba's even said multi-billion fold. Arab Karab, Baba, I will give this much more. And
Billion? Billion? He
yeah,
mentioned billion?
yeah, the word in
So
Hindi is
like,
Arab Karab.
ah,
Yeah, that usually he uses the word Padam Guna, which means multi-million. And then in some Murlis, I think 2016, 2000, he began to use the word Arab Kara, multi-billion fold.
those are the
And
last meetings,
right,
2016.
so I question that, will I be careless? And at the time when I can get billion or million, I didn't keep the attention. I didn't make my effort. And then suddenly Baba says, okay, time has changed. Now I will only give you 100. Then this will be deep regret, because suddenly for same yoga, I will only get 100. And I will have to then make, in Bhakti, we only get 1 for 1, right? So if you think how much effort we have to make in Bhakti, you do 1, you get only 1 in return. And Baba is helping us so much. We just remember Baba to get billion-fold, million-fold return. But I ask myself, for how long? And this is my interpretation of the too late board. So in some Murlis, Baba says that you children have come on time. You've come late, but you have not come too late. And I don't think we should be complacent and careless and thinking for always Baba will give us millions. Maybe he will not. Maybe he will switch something. And he then changes this. And this is the too late then. Because you can make effort, but you will not get to your destination like you could do.
Yes, brother, I have one question. You can put some more light on this when Baba says I he wants us to make to be economical, less expenditure, but more results or more.
Right.
What does he mean?
Yes. So there's internal meaning and external meaning. And what Baba says, he has this slogan right from the beginning, greater splendor with less expenditure. So can you achieve more with less? So first of all, Baba wants us to look inside ourselves, because when we come to Baba, we have so many thoughts, thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, and we are speaking so many words. So as human beings are thinking so much and speaking so much. And I heard many Devi Janki public lectures, and Devi Janki was very confident. And because she was like grandmother figure, she was very direct with people. So in UK, she used to say that she never heard this word busy when she was in India. And this word busy was from the UK. She said she learned it when she came to England. And because it's not really was an Indian culture before. No one was busy. And she was very confused about this word. Like, what does this mean? People will say, Daddy, you are busy. And she always felt this is an insult to her because she said, no, I'm never busy. And then over time, she realized that they feel busy. They feel busy. I don't feel busy. They feel busy. And she began thinking why they feel busy. And she would say to the public that you feel you are busy because you think so much and you speak so much, but you do very little. The amount that you think and the amount that you speak is so disproportionate to actually what you do. But I think very little and I speak a little bit more than I think. And I do a lot. So this is what Daddy would explain to everyone, that we have to reverse this. We think very little, we speak very little, and we concentrate on just doing, practice. And this is what means greater splendor or less expenditure. And then on practical level, as you would expect, it's to do with money and resources and time, that can we achieve things by being economical, and also Daddy used to talk a lot about energy, saving energy. Sometimes we are running around and doing, and actually we are not achieving that much. We are just feeling that we must be busy all the time. So we are just running around. Thank you. Okay. So 2 hours has flown by. Thank you so much, everyone, especially those of you joining new. Haven't met some of you before. So thank you so much for adding to the richness of this conversation. Let's finish with a few minutes of Baba's remembrance. And today Baba gave us a yoga practice in the morning. So let's visualize ourselves as soul sitting in the forehead. And above us is the soul world. And the soul world, Baba said this morning, is a tower of silence. And just like you see the tower of silence in Madhaba, so it has like the white tower, and Shiv Baba is at the top in the red. So visualize the subtle region as like the white tower, and then you got the golden red tower of the soul world, and then at the top of that tower of silence is the ocean of silence, Shiv Baba. And take yourself, reach up, go up, travel upwards, right to the top of the tower, and touch the ocean of silence. Om Shanti. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you.